Hello and welcome back to Bookish, and welcome to my review of At Night All Blood is Black by David Diop. This book won the International Booker Prize this year, or was it 2020? I can't keep these things straight anymore. And I read it recently, and I really liked it. I thought it was just absolutely great, and so I wanted it to be one of the books I reviewed during this kind of book review blitz week that I'm doing. Normally, when I decide to make a video in which I review a book, I make notes so that I say the things I want to say, and oftentimes so that I don't say the things I don't want to say. But it was almost impossible for me to make notes about this book and to decide exactly what to say and what not to say, because every time I did, I thought, oh no, you need to say this, and I thought, no, don't say that, and I would cross it out. So I'm basically just winging it. If you want reviews from people who are who I go to, smart people who I go to, I will try to leave a link to Eric Carl Anderson's review of this book and Mark Nash's review of this book, which I believe I've linked to once before, because they certainly have very intelligent things to say about this book. So in getting ready to make this review, I watched other people's review of At Night All Blood is Black. And all those reviews kind of start off in the same way I'm going to start mine off. This book is set in the trenches of the Western Front during World War I. The main character in this book, our narrator, is a Senegalese soldier in the French army who is a part of a Senegalese military unit which is fighting alongside and attached to white French military units. This, by the way, is completely historically accurate. If you didn't know, one of the things that made World War I a world war was the involvement of people from European countries' colonies in the fighting, whether they were fighting in various continents or whether they actually came to Europe and fought as well. The French had the Senegalese fighting units. They had Vietnamese people who worked primarily as truck drivers, driving supplies and men back and forth on the Western Front, and so that's absolutely accurate and true. What is also a part of what Diop is presenting to us here is the idea that these Senegalese troops were used kind of for their shock value, that because of kind of the inherent racism of Europeans and their attitudes towards people from Africa, it was assumed that German soldiers would think that the Senegalese were a little better than savages, and from the point of view of the book, that attitude of the Senegalese being savages in battle was used by the French and played up by the French and encouraged by the French commander, at least the fictitious one here in the book. And that savagery plays a real part in this book. You need to know that all of the content warnings apply here. This book is incredibly violent. It is very descriptive of violence. There is sexual violence in this book. There is discussion of sex in this book. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of what you're getting into, and yet I hope that you will read this book because it is incredible. Anyway, so this our narrator, this Senegalese soldier, is fighting on the Western Front, and his best friend is killed. His best friend is killed in a horrible way, and our narrator refuses to help his friend essentially die quicker and to cease suffering, and instead his friend suffers for days, and according to the narrator, this causes him, our narrator, a tremendous amount of grief and pain, and he decides to essentially take this out on German soldiers by hunting in no man's land, the space between the French and the German trenches, for soldiers that he can, for German soldiers that he can kill in some way, maybe as payback, in some way, maybe perhaps as trying to, you know, in his own mind, maybe appease the fact that he didn't help his friend more, and his friend has died in this terrible way. And then he becomes this savage that, you know, his commander seemed to want him to believe, and that the Germans already believed that he was, and for a time his savagery is rewarded and appreciated by the Senegalese and the white French troops that he's serving with, but eventually that goes away, and then the scene of the story shifts from the Western Front to essentially a psychiatric hospital. And I'm not going to say any more than that about the plot, because it is a really short book, and everything I've sold you up to so far, happens within the first, I don't know, 5 or 10 pages. So I don't think those things are spoilers. But I'm going to stop talking about the plot of the book there and talk about some of the things I think are really important facets of the book. Number one, our narrator is unreliable. And exactly how unreliable he is, I think, is up to you as a reader. But once you understand and once you read the book about what it is that he's doing, you will see that he, at the very least, experienced some kind of severe form of PTSD or battlefield psychosis, or however you want to think about it. That in of itself makes him unreliable. But then as the story unfolds, particularly the story of his friendship with this Senegalese man who he went to war with and who was his best friend, I think he refers to him as more than a brother over and over again in the book, you begin to get some insights in that relationship. And remember, you're getting those insights from an unreliable narrator. What I would tell you is that this is one of the great unreliable narrators, I think, in recent literature, and maybe one day it will be considered that way in all of literature, because it is impossible to know what to trust, I think, that he says. And when an author creates an unreliable narrator, they want you to dig deeper than the surface level of the narration and of the plot. And in this book, I will tell you, that is where the richness of this book lies. There are deep and multiple themes in this book. I will tell you that oftentimes I am not a reader who feels like that themes and symbolism necessarily have to be read or picked up on to enjoy a book. But in this book, you need to pay attention. You need to pay attention to things like inside the body, outside the body. You need to pay attention to things like white and black, literally in the terms of race and in other ways. I think you need to pay attention to the doubling of things, how almost everything in the book appears in a pattern of doubles, and there's so many other things in this book to pay attention to that I'm going to reread it and go back so I can appreciate all the things that I missed. This is an incredibly nuanced, powerful, disturbing, a short book. I mean, it's only 145 or so pages. It really is just not a novella, but there is so much here. And I think digging for those things and thinking about those things and mining those things out of this text are one of the things that makes it really enjoyable, and one of the great things about literature, that it gives us this opportunity to communicate with fictional characters, with authors, with our own ideas about things, and to question those things and to recognize patterns in those things. And I just think the book is extraordinary. I just think it's great. It will easily, I think, be in my top 10 books of the year. Anyway, there you go. There's my review of At Night All Blood is Black by David Diop. I hope if you get a chance to read it, you'll enjoy it. If you've already read it, I look forward to your comments in the comments section below. If you haven't read it and you have questions, you can ask me. I will be really reluctant to give too much more away than I have here, and I'm not sure I haven't given too much away as it is. But anyway, thank you for watching.